The biggest changes between the person you saw in that video and who I am today is that I am much more confident in myself as a business person. I've been tested, so going through a program like Creative Startups, navigating pitches as a person of color who's not in a tech or a traditional tech space, those experiences definitely require you to fend for yourself and to take up space. And so having the background that I do, having worked in higher education, had so many experiences that have allowed me to help other people to start and grow their businesses. I came into entrepreneurship with a good amount of experience in that space, but I found myself kind of having to show my receipts, for lack of a better phrase, which is not necessarily something that I would normally do. But I think that the process of being challenged and required to do so reminded me that, no, you've got this. And while it may be hard to do that as a mom who's also a working professional, who also is a consultant, who's also a wife, and likes to take mom vacations where no one is invited but self, that it's doable. And that I'm much more also clear that as much as I know that entrepreneurship has chosen me and that this path is mine, I'm even more clear today that I don't have an option but to stay the course. And that, especially through the work that I've been doing in the last several years, I also recognize that I won't close the wealth gap for my family or help to close it within our community as an employee. I'll only do that as an entrepreneur. And if I wasn't clear on that before, I am extremely clear on that today. And so the biggest pivot has been that whereas when I first did that video, I was doing a lot of time pouring into other people's stuff and businesses, pouring into me and pouring into our businesses has been a major change and an improvement for me. Even as of the end of this month, I will be transitioning from being a side hustle entrepreneur to a full-time entrepreneur. COVID, for many people, I know it's been a challenge, and it was a challenge for us because we had to close our doors. We've had to change our processes and everything else, and that has cost us in many ways, as well as our clients. But as a person of color who's also an entrepreneur and an advocate, I had to just take a step back and check my values and ask myself, what's more important to me at this time, to really focus on investing in our businesses and our family, or to invest my time and energy in growing other people's businesses and supporting other organizations in a full-time capacity. And I just decided that it was time, based on demand and just what my family needed, for me to, instead of rearranging the plates, to flip them, really to put them down and just say, let me just rethink this whole plate business and start anew. So I'm extremely excited and fortunate that during a time of uncertainty and transition that I can lean into our business. When we moved into our new space, our current space, I was preparing for our grand opening. It was, I think, just a minute past the start time, and a couple knocked at the door, and I welcomed them in. I didn't know them, and so I was just, prepared to give them the tour and the spiel. And this woman stands in front of me, and she says, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I said, "No, ma'am, but, I'm Shayla, and welcome to Oh My Goodness." And her eyes start to well up, and I'm like, oh goodness, what is going on? And she, says, "You're my person." And, the long story short, she was, at that time, she had won her battle with cancer, but her skin had been extremely damaged because of the chemo and all the treatments that she had gone through. And a friend in town, actually the owner of Jewelry Unique, which is one of our local partners, because we have a couple of local retailers carrying our products now. Talina actually shared our body butter with this woman, and she came to the grand opening to tell me that it had changed her skin and helped her to kind of reclaim her life, because people don't think about the fact that just because you are a cancer survivor, it doesn't mean that your self-esteem and your sense of self isn't challenged by how it changes and hurts your body. So I say all that to say that the woman also is a pretty successful business owner who's become a financial advisor, a mentor, a connector, and someone that, whether it is needing help thinking about how I'm planning for the future for my family, or how I'm making sure that we're covered as a business. She's one example, Devorah Ascott Black, of someone who has shown up to be a champion for Oh My Goodness, but also a really important mentor to me as well.